Hi everyone. So I have been learning through my Facebook group for this Felix Blanket that there are a surprisingly large number of people out there that don't read patterns. And so I wanted to just do like a quick overview video of how this blanket is constructed, and maybe that'll either help you to follow along with the pattern a little more easily, or if you're somebody who doesn't read patterns, hopefully this will help you to kind of wrap your head around what you need to do to be able to make this blanket, because it's really not hard. It's made using the corner to corner stitch, and I do have a video outlining how to do that. And then there are a couple other techniques you need to be aware of in order to make this. One of them is doing the joins that you need to do for this blanket. One of them is making something called a floating increase. And then there's also a video about making this odd shape, which I have right here. And I'm calling it an odd shape because unlike the typical CTC shapes that you make, it's kind of got jagged edges on both sides. And I have videos for all of those techniques. So hopefully watching those and kind of putting everything together, I'm hoping that this will be enough for you. So I'm right-handed, and it's my understanding, though I really don't know much about left-handed crochet, that if you're left-handed, you would be doing these things in reverse. So the blanket is basically made in 3 parts, though it's constructed as one piece. So in the first part, you're going to be working on the right side. So to start, you would make a basic C to C triangle for 6 rows, attach on another color, and I have a video kind of describing this stuff more, to start working this second part. And then you would make your odd shape, which you can see here, this pink one, and then you would fan off a block, and you would attach those 2 pieces together. And again, I have a video for all of these steps, so you could, if you haven't already, watch those if you need help, and you should be able to get to this place. So from there, it just becomes a matter of layering a left block, then a right block, a left block, a right block, all the way up to the top. It might be easier to see on this piece. So the last row you made was this right side row. So you'll start with this left side piece. Once you have this initial setup, all of your left side blocks will be the same, and all of your right side blocks will be the same. So it will get very repetitive. But you'll start your first stitch, I think I'm calling it like the right most available stitch. You start on the right side of your work showing, so this straight edge is to your right, and you come in here with a new color and you work 9 stitches all the way up. You would make 3 floating increases, and then you want to keep your stitch count at 12. So you'll make 6 rows of 12 stitches. Every time you get back down to the bottom, you'll join. And I do say how to join, like I said, in those other videos. So then from there, you would have this yellow block would be added. So the next thing you would want to do is make a right side block. So the right side block is constructed basically the same way, but you don't need those floating increases. because you'll always have a block to work into, and you want to keep a straight edge all the way up. So whenever you get to the end of a row, you'll start your row with an increase and then come down. So your stitch count on the right side will change because you want to keep that straight edge. But you'll still start down here at that bottom most available stitch and work up, and then you'll come down and attach, and then work up and come down and attach, work up and come down and attach. So you'll always start and end here in the middle, and then you would do a left side block and a right side block, and you would repeat that for as long as you want your blanket to be. I did 20 of those repeating blocks. Eventually, when your blanket is a size that you like, you'll need to start squaring off the top, is how I call it in the pattern. And you do that over the course of 4 blocks. You would start like you always do for the very first left side block. Do your 9 stitches, do your 3 floating increases, and then come back down and attach, and then come back up. And this is where you want to make sure you've got a straight edge. So your stitch counts will start decreasing to get the straight edge, but you'll still work 6 rows and attach on 2, 4, and 6 when you come back down. And then you'll go to the wrong side of your work to start your first right. I should have said that earlier too. You'll start your right side blocks from the wrong side of your work. And you probably intuitively would know to do that because you can't really crochet that direction unless you're left-handed maybe. So then you would do your right side block and work up to the top, and then do this 1 more stitch up here and come down. And then you would also start squaring off the edge and decreasing your rows. Join a left side block, 6 rows, continuing to square off the top, and then from the wrong side work your last right side block and square off the top there. So then when you're finished, you would have 1 long panel of pieces fanning off like this. Your right side would be straight, and your left side would be jagged. So you would have, this would be the end of 1 block, and then you would have another one coming off of it, and you would have these open spaces. So then to make the middle, you basically make another piece just like this, the odd shape in that first block. You wouldn't have these joined together though. You would just make the block, and then you would join it onto your blanket. So, and I'm doing my best, like I don't have any fancy equipment really. I literally have my cell phone rubber band to a wooden spoon right now, so I don't have a lot of area to zoom out and show you more of this. But basically my right edge is over here, and then this is that first odd shape I made for my right edge panel, and then I would make a second odd shape with a second block fanning off of it to get the start for the middle panel. And then you need to make these 2 strips here for the right side before you can do the join. So you would, this side here would be empty, and you would just attach and work up this pyramid 5 stitches, join to the top, and then come down, increase, work up, join, come down, increase, work up, join, come down, change colors, and continue that, except this time you know, when you get up here, you'll do 3 more stitches across the top of this other piece, you know, that's fanning out like this. And this is where it's really important that you make those chain 3s for your decreases, because now if you look, here's one of my floating increase stitches, and here's where I made a chain 3 for a decrease. So now when I go to work on top, I have those chain 3 loops to work into to continue this pattern here. So you'll do the same thing and attach and come down, and then on row 4, just like you did for the right side, and like I said, I think I give a pretty thorough demonstration of all of that in some other videos. You would do the same kind of join, work up for row 5, join at the top, work down, join, and then you would have your setup for the middle panel. So you would have these 2 pieces attached already to the first part you already made, and then you would have this set up here. And then you would start again, just like before, just layering blocks, left and then right, all the way up your blanket, the same number of times that you did for the first part. Just like for the first part, from after you get the initial setup, all of your left side blocks and all of your right side blocks will be the same. And now for this middle part, you'll always work 6 rows of 12 stitches. So the left side, you'll continue, you know, you'll start in the same place as you always did, work up 9 stitches, do your 3 floating increases, 12 stitches down, attach, 12 stitches up, 12 stitches down, attach, 12 stitches up, 12 stitches down, attach. Turn your work over so you're doing your right side block on you're working it on the wrong side of your work, but so it'll be on the right side for you to make your stitches. And you'll join, and then you'll work up 9, and then your last 3 will be again in those, you know, those same kind of working over the other block. And then the biggest difference is that you'll attach at the top, come down for row 2, attach at the bottom, up for row 3, attach at the top, down for row 4, attach at the bottom, up for row 5, attach at the top, down for row 6, attach at the bottom. And then you'll just repeat that again all the way up to the top. And then just like before, you'll square off the top over the course of 4 stitches. So it's these, or 4 stitches, 4 blocks. And these are the 4 blocks. So just like before, you'll make this left hand block, you'll make 12, come down, attach, work up, and then you want to have a straight edge. So you'll be slip stitching and decreasing at the top. Do 6 rows, 6 rows on the right, 6 rows on the left, and the last 6 rows on the right. And then for the middle section, you can work it as many times as you would like, depending on how wide you want your blanket to be. So for my blanket, I worked all the way up to this point, and then I wanted it to be even wider. So I repeated the whole middle section all over again. So then you go back down to the bottom of your blanket, and this was, you know, the odd shape in the first block that I made to join on for my middle. And then these 2 spaces would be open. And I literally would just repeat the whole middle section again. I would make another odd shape, another block coming off of it, and then I would make those first 2 stripes exactly as I did before. On the 4th row coming down, I would make the join to get those 2 pieces together, and then again I would have my setup, and I would layer the left and right blocks all the way up to the top again, square off the top just like you did, and you could repeat the middle section a 3rd time, whatever you want to do. It's also worth saying, I didn't do this, but you can omit the middle section too if you wanted, like if you were just making like a baby blanket, because you always have this odd shape on the left and a block, and then you attach it to whatever you're working on the right. So the very, very first panel that I made, and the very first, like, here's my right edge, here's my odd shape in my first block. So I could just make this panel, and then, you know, this odd shape and block would be this one right here. And then you could just work this left panel and just completely skip the middle part if you wanted. And then, like I already said, you could do the middle part a bunch of times, a couple of times, whatever you want. And then to square off the left side, I did a little small 4 rows of CTC stitches, changed colors and worked 6 rows. And then I did my usual 2 stripes coming off of the odd shape from over here, just like all of the other times. On the 4th row coming down is when you join. I think I maybe was putting my finger in the wrong place for you there, but so you'll join on the 4th, work up for the 5th, come down and join on the 6th, and then layer your left and right blocks all the way up. The right side blocks are just like I described in the middle section. You would have your work turned for this part, but you would attach and work up, you know, going across these 3 blocks here, joining at the top. So work 12 stitches, 12 stitches down and join, 12 stitches up and join, and so forth. And then these left side blocks would be similar to what you did on the right. You would start, you would work up to the top, no floating increases or anything like that, and then you would just increase and come down and attach, work up, increase, come down and attach for 6 rows. And repeat that all the way to the top. And I apologize because for whatever reason I can't bring myself to make my very last stitch, but I do have all of my ends woven in and my blanket is 99.9% finished. But I just have one more block to do and I'm kind of sad about doing it. So you would work your squaring off over the course of 4 blocks. So this one, this one, this one, and then the little one here. Just like before, you would just work up, I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, and then you'd start decreasing to get the straight edge at the top, and then do your right side and your left and your last right side, and then you would be all finished. So I hope that going over this just basic kind of construction will help anybody who, like I said, either just doesn't read patterns, and I don't know how you guys manage, or people who do read patterns, but you just need a little bit more help to help you just kind of conceptualize what you're doing in your mind. And like I've said before in other videos, this blanket is actually really easy and it's very repetitive. It's just very different from probably any C2C project you've ever done. And so I think people have a lot of motor memory and just kind of automatic things that they do. And you need to just be really mindful and deliberate and pay attention to if you're starting rows with increases or decreases, and your stitch counts after every row until you kind of have that light bulb moment and the pattern sort of clicks in your brain. And then once it does, you probably barely even need the pattern to keep going because it becomes pretty intuitive. So again, I hope this helps. And if you do end up making my blanket, I would love to see it. I think these are so pretty, and there's just a multitude of colors you could do, and they all just look amazing. So please show me if you make one. Take care.